Let's explore John's image edited through Adobe Camera Raw and then into Photoshop. This is where we have the most flexibility and the greatest power behind our tools. This is only a JPEG image and it's downsized. So if this were his raw image, we'd be able to do a lot more with it, but you're going to be amazed at what we can do here. So I have the image selected. I'm in the bridge. If I come up here to the top of the bridge and I click this, it says Opening Camera Raw, and that's where we're going to start the process. So I'm looking at the histogram. I'm going to kind of look at the image a little bit, see what we got going. I'm going to push the blacks down ever so slightly, push the whites up ever so slightly. I'm going to push those highlights down. Look at what happens when I do that. I'm going to move down here into where it says Clarity and Dee Haze. I'm going to play with the Dee Haze a little bit. Look at what happens when I do that. Look at that sky coming out. I'm going to come back up and affect the shadows. So I don't want to lose the detail, the shadow detail in here and up in here. So I might just see what that does as I'm playing with it. Let's see here. Pop those whites a little bit. And let's see here. A little black going on in there. I'll add a tick bit of clarity. And I'll add some vibrance. The vibrance affects the blues and the greens. It's not going to affect the houses in the background here as if we were using saturation. Saturation affects all the colors. Vibrance leaves alone the more neutral colors. So that's definitely a plus. Tweak the exposure a little if we need to. So not looking too bad right here. Let's see what happens if we pull the contrast down a little bit. A tick down, then maybe I can push that Dee Haze up a little bit. Okay, we're looking really good here. So I'm going to open the image into Photoshop now. There it is. Okay, so I'm in Photoshop. I have this background layer. I'm looking around at what we got going in here, and I think the first thing I'm going to do is darken this edge over here. To do that, I'm going to go to Adjustments. I'm going to click on Curves. I'm going to use the Target Adjustment tool, this little hand with the arrows in it, and I'm going to come over here and see where these colors or tones are on my histogram. I'm going to pull down to darken. So it darkens the whole thing. So after we add that curve, it gets really dark, and we don't want it affecting the whole. So if we look over here at the Curves Adjustment layer, it's white, so it's revealing that adjustment to all. We're going to hit Command-I on the keyboard if I were on Photoshop. There we go, Command-I, and it just hid that correction. So Command-I inverts the white to the black or the black to the white. So now that we're back to where we started, we're going to grab our paintbrush and we're going to paint with white. And up here in the options bar, I'm going to take my opacity to 50%. I just hit 5 on my keyboard to do that. I can also just move my mouse over top of the word opacity and get the scrubby slider, and I can have it move on the fly there rather than clicking here and moving the slider. It just saves time. But if you hit 5 on the keyboard, it takes you to 50%, 8, 80%. So whatever number it is, that's the percentage. Okay, so my mouse is a little small, so I'm going to make it big. It's a soft edge brush. I'm at 50% and I'm just going to darken this edge. And why am I darkening the edge? Well, I want to push our eye towards the sky. And we don't need this, whoops, this being light, so I'm going to take that down. And because it's 50%, I can just kind of build that up a little bit. And kind of acts as a little vignette here. And if I feel like I've gone too far, I'll make it bigger. I'll take it down to 30%. I'll invert it and then pull a little bit of off there. Okay, so I think that's looking pretty good so far. You can see what a difference that's making. Then I'm going to add another adjustment layer, another curves layer. And I want to lighten this tree up a little bit. So let's make this bigger. And I hold my space bar, it takes me to the hand tool. And I'm going to grab the targeted adjustment tool again. And I'm going to kind of move around and see. Right about here, I want this lighter area to lighten up. So I'm going to lighten that up a little bit, make it a little smaller. And it's lightening the whole like it did before. So we're going to click on there, which would be the layer mask, hit Command-I. And we're going to paint with at 30% with white. And if I hit X on my keyboard, it toggles between my foreground and my background color. So now I'm starting to bring out the lightness or bring up some more detail in this bush. And I can even, can I do that a little bit over in here if I wanted to? So, and I kind of like the idea of brightening up right at the base here. Okay, so now this layer is giving me some nice lightening. I'm going to come back over here, pull a little bit more off under here. And I keep turning the eyeball on and off on there just to see what's happening. I make this brush smaller. I'm at 40%. I'm just going to take some of that off of right there too. Doesn't need to be dark back there. And I can be selective about where I'm hitting this. I don't have to do everything the same. So just for fun, if I hold my Option key and click on the layer mask, this is what the layer mask looks like. So where it's white, it's revealing the most amount of correction. Where it's gray, it's a little bit. Where it's black, nothing's happening. So that was holding down the Option key and clicking directly on the layer mask. So we have this to this. It's looking pretty good. A few little things I would do since I'm in Photoshop. I'm going to go back to my background layer. I'm going to grab my clone stamp tool and I'm going to make this bigger. And it's breaking down because the resolution's so small, but I'm taking that thing out, you guys. There's no need for that to be there, okay? So quick little... Okay, that's looking a little better. And then I did see some stuff. Get rid of that out of the water. And there's some stuff up in the sky. I'm going to switch over to the healing brush tool. Get rid of these. This looks like dust on the sensor. So go through and clean up your files, okay? No one wants to have this kind of stuff if you're selling it in your image, okay? So I do a lot of tidying up of my files. There's another one down here. So I just kind of move around at a larger size like this. If I think it's distracting, I get rid of it. And I didn't do a very good job on that. That's looking better. So lasso tool, edit, fill with content aware, Command D. That looked even better. Okay, so that was the way to go. And I just continue cleaning up some of this stuff until it looked done. So move along. You just clean up things that seem out of place. I'd clean this up. It's just a little white speck here. Oops. Pull that back. Edit, fill. Anything that catches your eye, I'd just make that dark. I'd make that dark. Okay, so I think you're getting the idea. Let's go back to the layers. If I double click on the hand, it fits it back in the screen. I'll take it down a little bit. And so we've gone from here to here. But let's go back and look at the original. So back to the bridge. This is my edited in ACR, but we're going to take those edits off. So we're going to do defaults. I'm going to double click on that to take it back, double click on that to take it back. We'll open the image. We'll drop it into this one. So I'm going to hold the Shift key and drag it over since we didn't do any manipulation of the photo. Unlock that layer. Put this down below. Hey, I said unlock that layer. There we go. Drag this one down below. Okay, so that's what it looks like after we did the adjustments. And this is what it looked like when we started. Okay, so wow, what a difference. What a difference. So edit your stuff. This is what you can do with Photoshop.